Greetings, Porters. This is your favorite logistics support officer, Fragile Boson, here with another video on Death Stranding 2. As a spoiler warning, I just want to say that you should have completed the entire game before listening to this video in order to avoid any spoiler content. This video will be talking about some possible directions for Death Stranding 2. We'll be discussing some of the unanswered questions or loose ends at the end of Death Stranding. So with that spoiler warning, let's go ahead and get started. I want to start by saying that these are in no particular order of importance, but here are some of the loose ends at the end of Death Stranding 1. At the end of Death Stranding 1, Amelie is still kind of an open-ended question. She's still a walking time bomb, she's still an extinction entity, and she still is on the beach. We never really see her story concluded properly. So it's possible that Amelie is still a big factor in Death Stranding 2 and for the entire series moving forward. Speaking of those final scenes on the beach, we never really see Higgs die. I mean, if this was some sort of Game of Thrones type show, I really kind of feel like we have to see Higgs die in order to trust that he really is dead. I don't think that Fragile is the type of person to have actually killed him. We hear a gunshot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she shot him dead. It seems like at the end of the game, she was trying to get some information out of him, and so could have just, shot at him or in his general direction to kind of scare him to get that information out of him. But we never see him die. Bridget says to Die Hard Man at the end that there's still no atonement for them. And, we have to assume that this has something to do with the BB experiments and maybe the experimentation on Sam in general. And maybe this is completely covered up. Maybe this is tied up nice and neat at the end of Death Stranding, but I don't think so. I don't think this is only a reference to Sam. I think that there's still more that we are going to find out about the research and the other experiments that they've done that probably will play out a little bit more in Death Stranding 2. BB's still mother is still at Capital Knot City. We've been told throughout the game by Deadman that, every time Sam connects BB to the chiral network in his safe house, that BB was reconnecting back to the womb of its still mother in Capital Knot City, and we don't really know what has happened to BB's still mother. Speaking of BB, we see her revealed at the very end of the game to be Louise and not just Lou. And BB's out of the pod. I've made it pretty clear in my social media posts and things like that that I really think that this is going to be Elle Fanning. There's been a tweet that a few people have put out, and I will link that in the video here, showing Elle Fanning seeming to mimic some of the poses that Louise made in the pod. And so I don't know if this is Kojima's way of saying this is who this character is, or maybe this is just Kojima saying, this is what I want you to think right now, and, in pure Kojima fashion, he'll pull the rug out from under us down the road. We see also at the very end, speaking of the incinerator scene, if you could see this scene through your tear-filled eyes at the end of the game, after one of the most emotional scenes, especially one of the most emotional journeys of the game, that final mission taking the pod to the incinerator, you see Sam cutting his ties again with Bridges by burning the cufflinks in the incinerator. These are just a few things that I've noticed about the end of Death Stranding 1, some things that, weren't really wrapped up neat that could inform the story going into Death Stranding 2. We also, have alluded many times through Cliff's cutscenes that space seems to be at least a possibility for a setting in the future. I said in another video that I don't know that we'll see Sam making deliveries in outer space in Death Stranding 2, but I at least see that as a possibility for the future, especially considering the Kojima Productions studios, little cutscene that they have at the beginning of Death Stranding. All their stuff takes place on the moon. I think this is something that Kojima really wants to do. I don't know if it'll happen in Death Stranding at all, or if this is just something that, Cliff was talking about because, he wanted to show the world to Sam or not. But, it's at least a possibility for the future, something to look forward to. And, if you pay attention to Kojima's podcast and interviews and Twitter feed, he's been listening to a lot of space-themed music lately, although that could just be tied to his love of David Bowie in general. But, it may not indicate exactly where this is going in the future, but it surely could be an indication at least that he's deriving some kind of inspiration from space themes. So those are my ideas for at least a jumping off point into the story of Death Stranding 2. We'll see what happens. Obviously, today, as I'm recording this, I've noticed that Tommy Earl Jenkins has tweeted that something exciting is coming. So I really think this is all building towards a Death Stranding 2 reveal. Maybe not, but I'll be really surprised if it isn't. And I guess we'll just have to see what's going to happen in the next month or two. This has been another Death Stranding 2 news/lore video. I have been your friendly logistics officer, Fragile Boson. Until we get some more Death Stranding 2 news, keep on keeping on, and remember, tomorrow is in your hands.